On full display in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, lies a storied football program. A program entrenched in the deep, rich history of college football. A program with 4 national championships to their name, 2 Heisman winners, and the 16th most victories in FBS college football history. A program who's been led to national championship victories under head coach Paul Dietzel in 1958, Nick Saban in 2003, Les Miles in 2007, and of course, Ed Orgeron in 2019. I am talking about the Louisiana State University Tigers. The LSU Tigers are among the more memorable programs in college football. Their continual success in the SEC is very impressive. Their ability to win under extreme circumstances makes them unique and formidable. Their dominance, however, came from humble beginnings as they lost their first ever game in 1893 to crosstown rival Tulane. It was around this time that the glorious purple and gold jerseys are rumored to have been created. These colors derive from the beloved Mardi Gras celebration in New Orleans that usually takes place in February. The program saw players such as Y.A. Tittle, Jim Taylor, and 1959 Heisman Trophy winner Billy Cannon lead LSU to some of their most successful seasons. Billy Cannon was an athletic phenom, as he could run the 100-yard dash in 9.5 seconds. His Heisman moment on Halloween night against Ole Miss became known as Billy Cannon's Halloween Run, and is regarded as one of the most memorable plays in LSU football history. For the next 29 years, LSU experienced tremendous success as they recorded just 3 losing seasons and for the most part, finished those seasons in the top 15. From 1989 to 1994, LSU struggled as they suffered from 6 straight losing seasons. In 1999, however, their fortunes changed as it was announced that former Michigan State head coach Nick Saban would become the program's 31st head coach. Saban helped turn around the program that had just 3 bowl appearances in the past 11 years and ignited a 19-year bowl appearance streak. Saban's tenure included a huge win over number 2 Tennessee in the SEC Championship in 2001. In 2003, Saban led LSU to a 13-1 record, including a win in the BCS National Championship game over Oklahoma and Heisman-winning quarterback Jason White. After a 9-3 season the next year, Saban left to take a head coaching job with the Miami Dolphins. And well, we all know that didn't work out too well. Former Oklahoma State head coach Les Miles took the job at LSU and led them to a record of 34-6 over the next 3 years and won a national championship in 2007 over Ohio State as quarterback Matt Flynn threw for 4 touchdowns in a 38-24 victory. Miles led LSU to another championship game in 2011, this time against former LSU head coach Nick Saban and Alabama. They suffered an embarrassing 21-0 loss and led LSU fans to realize Miles was not on the same level as Saban. The program was not moving in the right direction, and they would need someone better than Miles to beat out the SEC powerhouse in Alabama. Offensive struggles to start the 2016 season and prolonged tension between Miles and the LSU front office led to his firing after a 2-2 start. Miles finished his tenure with a record of 114 wins and 34 losses over 12 years. So how did this team that was averaging just 21 points through their first 4 games and just fired legendary head coach Les Miles go on to win a championship just 3 years later? We'll analyze that and more as we delve into how LSU won the national championship. Before we get into this video, listen to this quick announcement. Are you an athlete in need of a highlight tape? Do you have clips but don't know how to mix them? SC Highlights is the place for you. Follow our Instagram at SC Highlights and send us a DM asking for a tape. We usually charge $20 to $30 per video, but use the promo code SCVideo to get a highlight for 50% off. Don't miss this opportunity to have a great glowing tape to post and share with friends. The path to the championship began with the great LSU coaching debacle of 2016, a debacle that called for much speculation and discussion. It had been assumed that Jimbo Fisher, former LSU offensive coordinator under Nick Saban, would take the reins if Miles was fired. Fisher led FSU to a national championship victory in 2013 and was seen as a possible frontrunner for the job. Ohio State offensive coordinator Tom Herman was seen as another candidate for the job, as he helped Ohio State win their 8th national championship in 2014. These 2 candidates seemed to be in the best position to land the job. Enter Ed Orgeron, the Louisiana native with a charismatic personality and an unforgettable, thick Cajun accent.
From here, Coach.
We'll see. We gotta go beat Ole Miss next week. We'll take it one game at a time.
Congratulations.
Go Tigers.
Orgeron had spent time as a defensive line coach for Miami from 1988 to 1992 and actually recruited Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to play for the Hurricanes. Orgeron had failed miserably at his only chance to be a full-time head coach while at Ole Miss from 2005 to 2007 as he finished with an abysmal record of 10-25. Orgeron had helped recruit Michael Orr to join the Rebels, the same Michael Orr who was the centerpiece of the incredible movie The Blind Side, starring Sandra Bullock. Coach O spent time with the Saints and the Tennessee Volunteers before becoming a defensive lineman coach at USC. Heading into 2015, Ed Orgeron was at his lowest point. He had just been passed over for the head coaching job at USC for Steve Sarkisian in 2013. He was out of work for a whole season and was still unsure as to why he didn't get the job. On January 14, 2015, he was ready to get his coaching career back on track as he accepted a deal to become a defensive line coach at LSU. With Les Miles fired, he was promoted to interim head coach and won 6 of LSU's last 8 games, including an impressive 29-9 Citrus Bowl win over Lamar Jackson in Louisville. Coach O seems like one of the coolest head coaches in the college football world, besides legendary Mike Leach. If there was a head coach I would want to try and have a conversation with, it would definitely be Coach O. Fisher's and Herman's asking salary price was too high, and the job ended up going to the third and, in my opinion, the best option.
It's my pleasure to announce to you the next head coach at LSU, permanent head coach, Ed Orgeron.
Thank you, Joe. Welcome, everybody.
Now we will look at the formation and progress that led to the championship team. Before the 2016 season, LSU was able to lure defensive coordinator Dave Aranda from Wisconsin after extreme success with the Badgers. In his final season with the Badgers, his defense came in first in terms of scoring defense, allowing just 13.1 points per game. In order to create a super team, you need to have a legendary recruiter, and that is exactly who Coach O is. Coach O is regarded by many as the best recruiter in college football. When Coach O joined LSU as a defensive line coach, he helped recruit 5-star cornerback Christian Fulton, 4-star linebacker Michael Divinity, and 3-star center Lord Cushenberry, as LSU ranked second nationally in the class of 2016 according to 247 Sports. As Coach O became the official head coach of the LSU Tigers, he took his recruiting game even further as he persuaded K. Levon Chasen, a 4-star linebacker from the 2017 recruiting class, to change his mind and commit to LSU. Apparently, Coach O showed up to his house at 4 a.m. and took him to the airport as he tried to get Chasen to sign with LSU over Texas, who was under Tom Herman. Here are some quotes from Chasen's memory of the encounter. "I was going to take my talents to Texas, and he kind of wasn't having that. He set up a home visit. I was on the way to Florida for an official visit, and I was like, 'Coach, we don't have time for a home visit. I'm about to head out.' Man, he came to my house at 4 in the morning, knocking on the door while everyone's asleep. He made sure he got his visit in, and I was like, 'Coach, we've got to head to the airport. We've got to be there for a 6 a.m. flight.' And he literally followed me to the airport and walked me all the way through TSA, and it was like, 'Bro, we've got to have you. Please, please.' He was like, 'I know what to do with you. I'm telling you, we're going to be the best of duos.'" This encounter just shows you Coach O's determinism to get the best players he can. From that same 2017 class, Coach O was able to land 5-star safety Jacoby Stevens, 4-star inside linebacker Jacob Phillips, 4-star safety Grant Delpit, 4-star cornerback Kerry Vincent, 4-star linebacker Patrick Queen, 3-star running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and even 3-star wide receiver Justin Jefferson. Despite the class ranking 7th nationally, I believe these guys had the biggest impact during the national championship season and was, without a doubt, his best recruiting class. In Coach Orgeron's first full season as head coach, LSU, led by senior quarterback Danny Etling and powerful running back Darius Geis, struggled offensively as LSU lost to Troy in Baton Rouge on homecoming by a score of 21-24. I would argue that LSU's loss to Troy was the lowest point in the program's history since the turn of the century. Losing in Baton Rouge doesn't happen very often, especially to a group of 5 team. In my opinion, this loss was a turning point for the program. They were headed in the wrong direction, and this loss really made players on the roster, as well as the coaches, understand what needed to be done in order to get back on track and on the path to a national championship. LSU continued their losing streak against Alabama as the losses climbed to 7 in a row. LSU closed their season out to a 21-17 loss to a strong Ian Book-led Notre Dame team that finished 10-3. My main problem with the 2017 season for LSU was their lack of offensive firepower and explosiveness. Despite strong efforts from their defense led by linebacker Devin White and Greedy Williams, there were no offensive fireworks like the ones we saw last season that propelled LSU to a 15-0 record. During that 2017 season, LSU averaged just 203.5 passing yards and 1.3 passing touchdowns per game. Compare that to their 2019 season under Joe Burrow, where they averaged 401.6 passing yards per game and 4.1 passing touchdowns, and you can see a pretty big difference. A positive on that season is the fact that LSU only committed an impressive 8 turnovers over the course of the full season. Orgeron knew his offense needed a spark and let offensive coordinator Matt Canada go after bad blood between the two, and after Coach O realized Canada wasn't the right fit, as he replaced him with former LSU tight ends head coach Steve Ensminger. Orgeron focused his recruiting heavily on securing offensive weapons to help open up the passing attack as he pursued former 4-star quarterback from the Plains, Ohio, the former Ohio State quarterback, the man, the myth, the legend, Joseph Lee Burrow. After realizing he had lost out the quarterback battle at Ohio State to future 15th overall pick in the 2019 draft, Dwayne Haskins, Burrow knew he had to transfer, and he chose an immediate transfer who was eligible to play, as he had already graduated from Ohio State. Joe Burrow, son of former Ohio University defensive coordinator Jim Burrow, experienced success in high school, as he was awarded the Ohio Gatorade Player of the Year his senior year. He was also a talented basketball player, as he was a first-team All-State point guard. He committed to play football for Ohio State. Joe Burrow faced tough love the minute he arrived at Ohio State, as Urban Meyer repeatedly said Burrow should be playing Division III and not for one of the best programs in the country. Burrow was referred to as John Burrow, as JT Barrett's first name was Joe. Basically, Burrow was being disrespected and placed with low expectations during his first 3 years that he spent without much playing time. During the transfer process, Joe Burrow said he wanted to go to Nebraska, but they told him that he wasn't good enough. Nebraska was where his dad had played college football at. Joe Burrow was close to committing to Cincinnati, but he accepted a dinner date with Coach O. Coach O was shocked when the restaurant they went to didn't serve crawfish, so he had the manager go out and buy 15 pounds of crawfish and cook it for them. Burrow fell in love with the fish and the culture of Louisiana, and he made up his mind. Besides landing Joe Burrow, Orgeron also added 5-star receiver Terrace Marshall, 4-star receiver Jamar Chase, and 3-star offensive guard Damian Lewis from the class of 2018. LSU now had the playmakers that they needed in order to succeed. Heading into the 2018 season, Burrow beat out a talented group of quarterbacks that included Miles Brennan, Justin McMillan, and Lowell Narcisse. The latter decided to transfer before the season even began, leaving Brennan as the only backup. The 2018 season saw an emergence of stars who would become key pieces during the championship run. Namely, wide receiver Justin Jefferson, who didn't record a single reception in 2017, racked up 875 receiving yards for 6 touchdowns, which led the team in both categories. The receiver with the second most yards, Stephen Sullivan, finished with just 363 receiving yards. LSU started off their season with impressive wins over number 8 ranked Miami and a number 7 ranked Auburn at Jordan-Hare Stadium. LSU was ranked as high as 5th in the country after a 5-0 start. In my opinion, Burrow is playing very similarly to that of Danny Edling, as he finished the season with just 16 passing touchdowns and 2,894 passing yards. The rushing attack led by Nick Brossette was the main production for the offense, as the Tigers mustered just 1.3 passing touchdowns per game. Burrow showed some versatility as he was able to rush for nearly 400 yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. As the season went on, the cracks began to show in the offense as they were unable to come back in games when they needed a quick score. For example, against Florida, LSU was down 19-20. Burrow struggled to get the offense going as he threw an interception that was returned by Brad Stewart for a Gators touchdown. The next drive, Burrow threw another interception, effectively ending the game. In Week 14, LSU took Texas A&M to 7 overtimes in one of the most memorable football games we've seen in a while. The Aggies prevailed as they won by a score of 74-72. Burrow played extremely well with 3 passing touchdowns for 270 passing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns for 100 yards. His offensive showcase that many saw as a fluke was just a preview as to what was to come in 2019. Number 11 LSU snapped UCF's 25-game win streak in the Fiesta Bowl, as Burrow had an impressive 394 passing yards and 4 touchdowns, as the Tigers edged out the Knights 40-32, despite playing without several starters on their defense. The Tigers finished their season 10-3 and appeared to be on the verge of breaking out. However, with an embarrassing 29-0 loss to Alabama at home, critics argued that not much had changed and LSU wouldn't be able to beat the Crimson Tide anytime soon. In my opinion, the 2018 season served as a year of experience for Burrow, and allowed Burrow time to gel with his receivers. That same season, LSU struck gold as they landed their 3rd highest recruit since 2000 in 5-star cornerback Derek Stingley in the class of 2019. Some would argue that Stingley is the best cornerback in college football after just 1 season. Stingley's familiarity to the campus and the fact that he attended high school in Baton Rouge really helped influence his decision to join DBU. That offseason, LSU found their X Factor. Who was the X Factor for LSU? Who helped LSU take the extra step it needed in order to win a national championship? I believe the X Factor lies in the hiring of offensive assistant and passing coordinator Joe Brady. Brady introduced a new offensive scheme that featured a blend of RPOs and the West Coast offense. Finally, LSU had someone who was able to utilize the talent on LSU's roster. He was able to get the playmakers in space, and that paid dividends for the team. Coach O changed the culture of the team by recruiting players with great character as well as talent. This recruiting helped the Tigers have an offseason without any legal troubles or major storylines. Even Joe Burrow said, usually teams that don't have a lot of disciplinary problems and arrests win the game. Burrow probably included that usually in reference to all the problems the 2007 Florida Gators team had. In case you didn't know, Burrow wasn't even considered to be a Heisman contender before the season started. Despite the fact that the Tigers finished the 2018 season with their first top 10 ranking since 2011, no one predicted that LSU would knock off Alabama in the regular season and go undefeated and win the national championship in 2019. LSU entered the 2019 season with the best secondary in college football, a revamped explosive offense that was ready to take the college football world by storm, and a strong discipline instilled in the team. All of these factors would lead to arguably the greatest team ever in college football history. The new offense was on full display right out of the gate as Burrow passed for 278 yards and a career-high 5 touchdowns in a dominant 55-3 win over Georgia Southern. In Week 2, LSU saw their first real test as Joe Burrow exploded onto the scene and gave him enough recognition to officially kick off his Heisman campaign. In a 45-38 shootout over 9th-ranked Texas, Burrow finished with 471 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. LSU went on to win their next 3 games, averaging an incredible 57 points per game, including a 229 receiving yard and 4 touchdown performance from Jamar Chase against Vanderbilt. Former 3-star receiver Justin Jefferson went off with 163 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns against Utah State. LSU handled the 7th-ranked Florida Gators led by Kyle Trask as Clyde Edwards-Helaire rushed for 134 yards and 2 scores. Derek Stingley Jr. effectively sealed the deal on a Gators comeback as he picked off Trask early in the 4th quarter. After Joe Burrow picked apart the Bulldogs defense throwing for 4 touchdowns en route to a dominant 36-13 win over Mississippi State, LSU faced off against Auburn in their closest game all season. LSU struggled to get their offense going early and headed into halftime tied at 10 with the War Eagles. LSU continued their offensive struggles as they failed to score from the 2-yard line and then turned the ball over again on the next drive. Clyde Edwards-Helaire put the team on his back as he tumbled into the end zone to put the Tigers up 16-13. Michael Divinity Jr. sacked the true freshman quarterback Bo Nix on Auburn's next possession, allowing LSU to drive down the field once more, relying heavily on their running game as Burrow took it himself into the end zone as LSU won 23-20 after a late touchdown from Auburn. Following a hard-fought win over Auburn, LSU turned their sights to what some argued as the biggest game of the year, LSU versus Alabama. The last time LSU had defeated the Crimson Tide was back in 2011 when Les Miles was still the head coach. Many experts still picked the Tide to win a high-scoring game over the Tigers, but Tua Tagovailoa had recently sustained an ankle injury that may have affected his play during the game. Burrow was ready to officially end a college football dynasty and turn the tide in their rivalry. At Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, the Crimson Tide got off to a terrible start as Tua fumbled the ball, allowing LSU to jump out to a 10-0 lead thanks to some pretty passing from Joe Burrow. Hilaire took it into the end zone to put LSU up 23-13. In the final 30 seconds of the half, Tua Tagovailoa was picked off by Patrick Queen, which resulted in another Joe Burrow passing touchdown, putting LSU up 33-13 at half. Alabama players blamed the 3 turnovers by their offense for basically killing any momentum the team had. Saban rallied his team together as Alabama responded in a big way in the second half, scoring a touchdown on 4 straight possessions. With LSU leading 39-34 with 5 minutes to go, Burrow knew the team needed to score in order to seal the victory. Burrow picked apart Alabama's young defense and used his legs to convert a big third down, which set up an easy touchdown run. Alabama responded very quickly with an 85-yard touchdown grab to put them within 5, but a failed onside kick ruined any chance to take the lead as LSU beat Alabama and ended their 8-game losing streak against the Crimson Tide. The defense showed some cracks the following week against Ole Miss as quarterback John Rice Plumlee rushed for an astounding 212 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. LSU had no trouble knocking off Arkansas, and the following week beat Texas A&M by a score of 50-7, ensuring there would be no chance for the Aggies to take them to overtime. In the SEC Championship, Derek Stingley came to play as he picked off a very vulnerable Jake Fromm twice. LSU dismantled Georgia and advanced to the college football playoffs for the first time ever as a 1 seed. Joe Burrow headed to New York City as a clear Heisman favorite and put together arguably the greatest season by a quarterback in college football history. But that doesn't mean the dude isn't weird. He wears his socks inside out before every game. He even wore SpongeBob socks to the Heisman ceremony. Burrow won the 2019 Heisman Trophy, and of course, we all remember his memorable speech that really shows his incredible character.
I sure hope they give him a lifetime contract. He deserves it.
People thought the Oklahoma-LSU matchup would be a lot closer than it actually was. Burrow had a career day as he threw for 493 passing yards and recorded 8 total touchdowns to help the Tigers dismantle the Sooners by a score of 63-28. Jalen Hurts couldn't get their offense going, and this game reminded me more of a FBS versus FCS game than a playoff game between the best teams in the country. LSU advanced to the College Football National Championship to face off against Dabo Swinney and Clemson. The game started out slow, but Clemson struck first with a rushing touchdown by Trevor Lawrence. Burrow connected with Jamar Chase on a 52-yard bomb to tie the game at 7. Clemson appeared to be pulling away as B.T. Potter hit a 52-yard field goal, and ETN rushed for a touchdown on the next drive to put the Tigers up by 10. LSU responded in a big way with touchdowns on their next 3 drives, including one to Randy Moss's son, Thaddeus Young, as the half came to a close. Clemson got great field position at the beginning of the second half, and they used that to score and to make it a 3-point game. In the middle of the third quarter, LSU was leading 28-25, and a score now would give them a comfortable lead. Burrow drove down the field once more and connected once again with Thaddeus Moss. After that touchdown, the LSU defense led by Patrick Queen locked in as Clemson managed to gain just 51 yards of total offense the rest of the game. Grant Delpit forced a fumble late in the game as LSU knocked off the reigning champs by a score of 42-25. LSU was at the top of the college football world as they had an incredible season. The Tigers, in my opinion, had the greatest season ever as they had 7 wins over top 10 teams and averaged an unbelievable 568.9 yards and 7.9 touchdowns of total offense per game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had an impressive season with 1,867 total yards and 17 touchdowns. Jamar Chase led all receivers with 1,780 receiving yards and 20 touchdowns. Defensively, K. Lavon Chasen led the team with 6.5 sacks and 13.5 tackles for a loss. Derek Stingley led all defensive backs with 6 interceptions and an impressive 15 pass deflections. Jacob Phillips led the team in solo tackles with 56 as well as total tackles with 113 as he was a centerpiece of this defense. I want to give lots of credit to Coach O for changing the attitude of the program and recruiting athletes with strong character and leadership. I give credit to Joe Burrow for having an incredible season passing the ball as he broke the FBS record for most touchdown passes in a season with 60. And his 5,671 passing yards ranks 3rd in all of FBS history. Of course, I'll give credit to Joe Brady, who helped introduce an offense that completely changed LSU and took the college football world by storm. I would argue that LSU's defense under Dave Aranda didn't change much from 2018 to 2019, but their strong mentality and clutch performances ultimately helped with LSU's success. Unfortunately for LSU, Dave Aranda left to become the head coach at Baylor, while Joe Brady, at just 30 years old, left to become the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. This may hurt the team, but I'm sure Orgeron made the right choice in hiring former Youngstown State head coach Bo Pelini to replace Aranda. I don't know if there will ever be a team like the 2019 LSU football team again. What I do know is that there is going to be a new dynasty in college football. No longer are the championship games just going to be between Clemson and Alabama. Ed Orgeron has built a team that looks to have great success for the next 10 years. If you've gotten to this point, I want to say thank you for watching our video and make sure to subscribe. If you have any questions or comments about our video or what we should do next, please feel free to comment below. Thank you.